James Carter arrived at Dulles International Airport on a Tuesday morning, carrying a single carry-on bag and his U.S. passport. He was returning from an assignment in Europe, where he had been working undercover for a federal agency. James, a 38-year-old African-American man with 15 years of service, was accustomed to navigating high-pressure situations. His current mission required him to travel under a low profile, using his official government-issued passport, which included specific notations for federal agents. He approached the customs checkpoint, expecting a routine process. At the customs desk, Sarah Mitchell, a 45-year-old Customs and Border Protection officer with a reputation for strict enforcement, was on duty. Sarah had worked at Dulles for a decade and prided herself on spotting discrepancies in travel documents. When James handed over his passport, she examined it closely, noting the federal agent designation. She frowned and said, "This doesn't look right. The seal is off and the notation looks suspicious." James responded calmly, "Ma'am, this is a valid U.S. passport issued to me for official duties. You can verify it through the system." Sarah shook her head and said, "I've seen fakes before, and this one raises red flags. Step to the side. You're not going anywhere until we clear this up." James maintained his composure and said, "Please run the passport number through the database. It will confirm my identity and status." Sarah, unconvinced, raised her voice and said, "Don't tell me how to do my job. This passport is fake, and you're acting defensive, which makes me think you're hiding something." She signaled to a colleague, Officer Daniel Brooks, and said, "We have a potential fraud case here. Hold him for questioning." James said, "I'm a federal employee on official business. I suggest you verify before escalating this." Sarah ignored his request and contacted her supervisor via radio, saying, "I have a passenger with a suspected fraudulent passport. Male, African-American, claims to be a federal agent, requesting immediate assistance and a full background check." She then turned to James and said, "You're staying in the holding area until we figure out who you really are. People like you can't just walk through with fake documents." James complied, stepping into a small holding room as directed. He said, "I'm cooperating, but I need you to contact the Federal Liaison Office to confirm my credentials." Sarah responded, "We'll see about that. If this is fake, you're looking at serious charges." Officer Brooks, standing nearby, asked Sarah, "Are you sure about this? The passport looks official." Sarah snapped, "I've been doing this longer than you. It's fake, trust me." While James sat in the holding room, Sarah continued to process other passengers but kept an eye on him through the glass. She called the airport security office and said, "We need to escalate this to law enforcement. This guy's passport is fraudulent, and he's claiming to be some kind of agent." The security office relayed the information to federal authorities, unaware that James's agency had already been notified through an automated system triggered by his passport scan. Within 10 minutes, 3 FBI agents entered the customs area. The lead agent, Special Agent Maria Lopez, approached the desk and asked, "Where is James Carter?" Sarah, surprised by the agent's arrival, pointed to the holding room and said, "He's in there. His passport is fake, and we're holding him for fraud." Agent Lopez showed her badge and said, "I'm with the FBI. Mr. Carter is one of ours, and you're detaining a federal agent on active duty. Release him immediately." Sarah's face showed confusion, and she said, "That can't be right. The passport doesn't look legitimate." Agent Lopez replied, "The passport is valid, and you failed to verify it properly. Your actions are obstructing a federal operation." The other 2 agents, Carter and Gwynn, entered the holding room and greeted James, saying, "Agent Carter, we got your alert. You're clear to go." James stood up, retrieved his bag, and said, "Thank you, agents. Let's resolve this." Agent Lopez turned to Sarah and said, "You falsely detained a federal officer and made baseless accusations. That's a violation under federal law. You're under arrest for obstruction of justice." Sarah protested, saying, "I was doing my job. How was I supposed to know?" Agent Gwynn handcuffed her and said, "You had the means to verify his identity, but chose not to. That's not an excuse." Officer Brooks, witnessing the scene, said, "I told her to check the system, but she insisted." Agent Lopez responded, "Your cooperation will be noted," but she made the call. Sarah was escorted out of the customs area in handcuffs, her face a mix of shock and embarrassment. Other customs officers and passengers watched as the FBI agents led her to a secure area for processing. James provided a brief statement to the agents, explaining the sequence of events. He presented his passport. Sarah accused him of fraud without checking the database, and she detained him despite his cooperation. The agents confirmed that the passport was valid and linked to James's federal status. Agent Lopez said, "We'll handle the paperwork. You're free to continue your assignment." Sarah was taken to a federal holding facility, where she was questioned about her actions. She claimed she acted in good faith, believing the passport was suspicious due to its unique markings. The FBI reviewed her record and found prior complaints about overzealous enforcement, including allegations of racial bias. Sarah was charged with obstruction of federal officer, a misdemeanor, and released on bail pending a hearing. The incident was reported to the Customs and Border Protection Internal Affairs Division. Sarah was suspended pending investigation. James, meanwhile, continued his work, debriefing his agency on the mission and the airport incident. He requested that the case be handled impartially, saying, "I don't want this to be personal. Follow protocol." The airport issued a memo to staff, reminding them to verify documents through official channels before taking action. James's agency commended him for maintaining professionalism under pressure. Sarah's hearing resulted in a guilty plea, with a penalty of community service and mandatory retraining on federal identification protocols. The story spread among airport staff and law enforcement circles, serving as a reminder to verify before accusing. James returned to his duties, his mission unaffected, while Sarah faced consequences of her hasty judgment.